And then today, much more of a grinded out affair today. But again, big kids stepped up. I thought our seniors stepped up in the first half. We got Ellie rolling a little bit at the end. I think that helped us into the second half, and we rode that group. I think this has been a very, very deep team all season, and I think in a lot of ways, weirdly, that kind of allowed us to kind of milk these guys throughout this game and play such high minutes. I thought it was huge. Rachel came in, hit a three. I thought she kind of steadied us. There were some stretches there where people don't see what that kid does over the box score. To be honest with you, probably haven't seen everything that she sacrificed for this thing, this engine to keep on rolling throughout the year. For her to come out and be as big a part of that first half, I thought was huge for us, gave us a boost. We kind of had to manage some foul trouble a little bit there, and I think our bench allowed us to do that in some really big moments today.
Yeah, no, she's been really fun to go against the past 4 years, and she's a really good player. She's a great shooter and an inside post player. So, it's a lot of fun to go against her.
Yeah, and that goes back many years. I think we've been able to kind of switch against them, and a huge part is our bigs allow us to do that. They're able to kind of still stay in front of people. I thought, again, I thought our smalls, I don't want to call them smalls, but I thought our guards were really good about not making it easy for them to get back in. I thought we were able to switch and then kind of get out and deny, so it wasn't as easy to make the easy pass back in. We knew they tried to take advantage of that, and I thought our players just really stepped up and some toughness there. The switches were good, and I think a lot of times when you switch, you kind of get yourself in some bad rebounding positions, and I thought the rebounding today was huge. For us to go plus 17 on the boards, didn't think that would happen, and I think these guys have heard me preach that throughout the season. I think there was a lot of positives that this team has had this year that we haven't had in a really long time. And for us, we kind of lost some of the defensive identity, or I'm sorry, the rebounding identity that we had over the years, but that stepped up huge this week. We don't come close to having success today. For a lot of people, but she's another one. Doesn't get a lot of notoriety throughout the season, but also today. I thought the box score was huge. She made some shots to kind of calm us down a little bit. Was able to knock down some free throws. We felt all year if Kai was going to be aggressive and she could score into double digits, we were going to be a hard team to beat. And I think you saw a lot of that today. And I thought really kind of broke down their defense and got some easy baskets. Some of those were big time easy baskets. I think Ellie's at the end of the third quarter, end of the shot clock on one of those was huge. With all due respect, probably none of it. I think today was all about just making sure that we were doing what we were to do to make plays. That was really the message for us the last few weeks. Which really, this is done, man. You're past the point of worrying about coach being mad at you, or we're still gonna have the same standard. We're gonna ask for perfection, but we're done with all of that. You got to go out there and go make some plays. I thought we did that to start the game. I thought we kind of lagged behind that a little bit in the second quarter. To be honest with you, I mean, I knew that they hadn't won here before. It wasn't anything we talked about as a staff or even as a team. But in some ways, that kind of makes you worried. Obviously, a really hungry team coming in here can cause you trouble. But again, I think once you kind of knock each other in the mouth, so to speak, I think at that point it's just playing basketball. Maybe they ride a certain emotion, maybe we ride a certain emotion, but it comes down to just making plays. And I'm just proud of our group that we were able to do that today. Yeah, and again, I think we one of those things where Lehigh and Lafayette and you have all these geographical rivalries, and I think especially last year, I think the way that they were able to go on that run, and I think this year too, every time we looked at the standings, as much as you try not to, they were still there, and and I'll say this, I know that straying from the question, with all due respect to our conference, I don't know that there's been a much better coaching job probably across the country than what Megan did this year. To lose what they did last year, to have the injuries that they had to go through this year, that's a really special group, and we think that we were too, and I think it was going to take kind of a big-time effort from our older kids tonight to protect that. But I hope they get the credit, notoriety that they deserve. That was a really, really good basketball team. There were certain times this year that, believe it or not, I thought they were maybe even better than they were last year. And I think that's a huge credit because I thought they were a very good team last year.
Yeah, I mean, those weren't the smartest plays on my part, but I was ready to go. I was excited. But, yeah, Coach kind of mentioned that. You got to be smart. You can't – no more stupid fouls. But I knew I had to stay aggressive. And, honestly, that just speaks to our bench, too. Last time we played at American, I was in foul trouble and didn't get many minutes because of that. And we beat them by one, and our bench played great, and I thought people stepped up today, too. I was on the bench, and honestly, it didn't really look like they needed me out there, so they played great, and people stepped up.
Yeah, this is our last chance playing at Sloika, so we didn't want to go out any other way, so I knew I just had to give it all I got. And like Coach said, you can't play with being scared that he's going to yell at you, because when I took that step back, he could have ripped me a new one. But, yeah, no. I mean, I had to give the team everything I got, because it's the last 40 minutes I had in Sloika. Yeah, no, it definitely is. It just shows how much put into the gym outside of practice, pulling coach in for rebounding and pulling Coach G in. And then Coach Lane the past 3 years, just using all the coaches and getting Ellie a little roped into the workouts a little bit. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. It just makes all the hard work definitely worth it.
Yeah, they hit, I think, like 3 threes in a row there, and that was a little scary, but I thought our seniors did a really good job of kind of finishing it out, getting good, easy shots, and they ended up going in. So I think that was a big credit to our seniors for pulling that one out. Yeah, obviously that first half wasn't very good for me until I think that last 2 for 1. So I felt like I needed to add to the game, and it ended up working out there. But yeah, I don't even really know what to say. I'm so happy right now. Sorry.
Yeah, and again, I think this has been a group that, we don't talk early in the season about goals. We don't talk about, hey, championship or nothing. But, I think these guys have been at this long enough, and I think they hear the noise. I think we kind of all know that if this didn't end with the championship, weirdly, it almost would have felt like a disappointment. I don't think that would have been the case. Now that we've won it, I want to make sure that this wasn't just a sigh of relief that we won it, and I think you saw some celebrating out there, because this has been the culmination for a lot of these. 5 of them have been here for a while, and they committed to a program that wasn't like this. Was not like this when they committed here, and they really bought into a vision. They've changed the culture. A lot of kids that have come here before these guys have kind of paved the way, but these guys really kind of grabbed this thing by the horns. And again, I think this is something I've thought of this day. Something I've thought a lot about. I know they have too. And this week was great. You talked about the 3 wins, but I think this really goes back to July. This has been kind of a hunger, maybe even since last March, the way that season ended. We all kind of talked in the offseason. You never wanted to feel like that again. This was going to be whatever it takes. We're going to find a way to get this done.